Yo, people, we back again, live and direct. You know it is, the usuals, man. Like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, let's get straight into it, man. Carabao final. I was about to call it Carabao, whatever it's called. Actually, I don't know what it's called. The final. Liverpool won. Was it 11-10 on pens? Damn.
Yeah.
Mad thing. But let's get our thoughts on it. So for me, yeah, at times watching that reminded me of Chelsea heritage, bruv. I know people like all this control rubbish of like, let's pass the ball. Me, I like backs against the wall, heroic defending, mad goalkeeping saves. That's what I grew up on. JT, goal line clearance, pair check. This is what you see what Mendy was doing. You see what Thiago Silva, Rudiger, bad man. Rudiger's a bad man. I gotta respect it because man had Salah in his pocket. Like, you see, because I first saw it from someone. Someone was saying how if you're super aggressive on Salah, you can really nullify him because Salah's he's obviously this season we've seen him improve with the ball at his feet, but Salah generally thrives in spaces. So if you kind of nullify that, obviously because Rudiger physically is very good, and you just make him come to feet, you can easily nullify him. And we saw that today because he didn't really have any effect. But yeah, I think Chalobah, he struggled. You saw him. Because Diaz was a problem. Diaz looks like a problem. Like, he looks like he has it all. Like, looking at Mane from 2016, 2017. He's got the physicality, he's got the pace, he's got the power. He's got the skill. Like, he looks like he could be a big player for Liverpool. But all in all, when I'm looking at the performance, it was a game of momentum and tide. I'll say Liverpool overall, I'll say had the stronger of it, but we saw moments where Chelsea had their openings, Liverpool had theirs. Mendy made some incredible saves, and Chelsea had their chances as well. But with the fans, everything, it was just a brilliant final, man. I totally enjoyed it. But yeah, Dan, what about you? What was your thoughts on the final?
Yeah, first and foremost, I'd say it was a really enjoyable final. Like, even though it was 0-0, it wasn't like a 0-0 game, if you know what I mean. Like, it was pretty end to end, big chances. Obviously, I think there was 2-3 goals ruled out for offside and various other reasons or whatnot. But yeah, I think, like you said, you could kind of see the momentum swinging in the game because there was points where it looked like Chelsea were going to score, and then nearing the end of the regular time, it looked like Liverpool were on top. And I think it came down to fine margins, really. And the offside against Lukaku, I think, in my opinion, that's a shock. Babies, and it didn't happen, unfortunately, for Chelsea. I think in terms of performances, especially for Chelsea, I think there were some great performers and some awful performers. I think Mendy, Rudiger, Thiago Silva were the main very good performers. I think Mount, Chalobah, not entirely his fault, but Chalobah and Kante were pretty poor today. I think Mount missed two, three very big chances. Kante struggled to maintain control in that midfield and seemed to be getting kind of flustered by the Liverpool press. And Chalobah just couldn't control Diaz. As you said, he looks like a very technical player. He seemed to beat Chalobah a lot off the pace on the outside rather than cutting in, which is quite an interesting kind of dynamic because I thought he was more trying to be an inside forward, but it would prove effective anyway. But I mean, and when it came down to the penalties, obviously it's in hindsight, it's easy to say, but after Mendy's performance in the game, I thought he warranted at least a chance to save the penalties and I understand it's worked before, obviously in the Super Cup, and I'm not sure if I think probably another final Chelsea's played. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't think, in my opinion, Kepa is that significantly better than Mendy at saving penalties to the point where it warrants him to be brought on. And I think the performance by Kepa in the penalty shootout was shocking, to be honest. 10 penalties and you didn't save one, and then it comes down to you and you. It's not even just a miss; it was an awful miss. So I mean, there's one that Chelsea won't be happy about, obviously, because the fine margins and 2 goals ruled out, and they at points they look very strong within the game, but it is what it is, and you kind of just have to tip your hat to Liverpool because they also stuck within it when their heads could have dropped.
100%, man. What about you, Carl? What was your thoughts on the performances from both sides?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. In terms of the 90 and the 120, it was an even game, and Chelsea defended well. It wasn't a poor performance at all. With the 2 offside goals, I think we hit Liverpool in the break well, because that's the downfall of Liverpool system, and like Tuchel recognized it, so it shows that he's progressing. He recognizes other teams' weaknesses. Like Trent, obviously, Trent, he gets like caught lacking. Chelsea managed to get him behind very well, I thought, compared to how we've been so far in like the season, where we haven't really had any balls in behind. Even seeing plays like Lukaku, not the best of games, but he still managed to get in some positions where we kind of wanted him to see. Obviously, he had the disallowed goal, but that's where we wanted to see him, like kind of running behind and be able to do his thing, cutting inside and get a shot off. But at the end of the day, we had two good chances that we should have buried, in my opinion. Pulisic at the start of the game, the Mount towards the end of the game. I think I'm not going to go into them because obviously anyone could have been on the end of it, but it's a cup final. That's when you're supposed to show your quality, show your levels, and you could say it's unforgivable, I guess, but it's a bit harsh. But yeah, it's kind of unforgivable for them kind of chances there. In terms of the penalties, I was first of all Mendy, top game, excellent game, one of the best games I've seen with him. That double save was ridiculous. So from that point, I do think it was a tad harsh to bring him off for the pens, but I'm not gonna lie. I know it's like a mutual agreement. Mendy understands that Kepa's the guy for penalties, kind of thing. They've had it planned for like months, the last few months or whatever. But in this scenario, surely if you see Mendy have that kind of game, it might lead to you rethinking your kind of game plan. Maybe I think Tuchel maybe would have been able to adapt and say maybe Mendy will have the confidence, especially coming from the AFCON where he's won the penalty shootout and things like that. Just a little bit of confidence boost. But obviously Kepa, it was a disaster. It was a disaster. You can't sugarcoat it. I don't want to get onto him because it's a bit harsh. He's had his tough times at Chelsea, and he probably will be on his way out. So but it was a disaster. The penalty was terrible. Was terrible, and to not save any, it kind of makes you think that what was that all about? It kind of puts a dampener on the whole system, and I don't think we'll see it again. The whole 120th minute thing. I don't think any club will try even mimic it, no matter how good the keeper is on the bench or anything. Yes, that'll put an end to the whole 120th minute thing. Yeah, I'm annoyed about the game. I'm annoyed about the loss, I guess, but at the end of the day, it's positives, isn't it? It's positives. I can't hate the team when they've made chances. They've scored a couple of disallowed goals, and they're doing things that we haven't seen this season so far. So credit to Liverpool, to be honest. Yeah, they had a few good players for Liverpool. Salah's quiet, but obviously Diaz. He was skinning Chalobah. I'm not gonna lie to you. He was doing no look passes, all sorts. Just shows his confidence, And then Dan said that league that he came from, the talent they're producing is solid. Like, it's very solid. So he's one to watch out for sure. It was a nice final, as you say, Josh. He got heated at moments, as we saw at the end. I don't know why my man Harvey Elliott is acting like he's a nobody. He's a nobody.
One chav, bro.
I'm a bad man,
He needs a bake off overall because brother guy, he was on him quick, real good. But that Harvey Elliott guy, fair enough. But yeah, that's what I like to see. That I like to see it. Credit to him, and credit to him. The Liverpool guys. Big up Liverpool players, because no one has passion like them guys. I'm not gonna lie to you. You saw after every pen as well. Like they love it. They love it. Robertson, this guy's he's a madman. So yeah, a few 50-50 challenges. We saw the one with Chalobah and I think it was Keita. His foot was way up in the air. People saying red cards, just let them play. Let them play. I'm not with all the this guy should have got sent off here, sent off there. It's a cup final of the day. That just puts a damper on it, Yes, that is a proper like old school cup final, like 0-0, proper 0-0. Both teams going for it, full effects, and Klopp will be happy. I think it was like the third time lucky where he's lost the previous two, so fair enough, yeah.
No, 100%. With the Kepa thing, yeah, obviously I'm not really on Tuchel because I understood it. He's done it before and it's worked. It works in the Super Cup, so why change a winning formula? But obviously, what you were saying, Carl, makes sense in terms of Mendy's having such a great game. Why are you changing it? So I can see both perspectives, but hindsight is always 2020. If Kepa had saved Konate's penalty, which he should have, we're talking, he's done an amazing tactical Tommy, whatever, all this. So it is
But
what
10
it is.
penalties though, 10 penalties and you didn't save one.
It's a lot of penalties.
That's not even just average, that's bad. Like on average, you expect at least one to be saved even in 5. You expect one might be saved, but 10 and you didn't save a single one.
I can't lie though, the first 5 from each side were quite good. Like it was high quality pens. Like they were in the corner.
To be fair, Van Dijk went his way. He was standing on the left of the goal. Van Dijk went his way and he still didn't save it. And it wasn't even top corner or anything. It was a good penalty, but it wasn't one where it's unsavable. Konate's as well. That was a very savable penalty.
Yeah, he should have saved that. He should have saved Konate's pen.
Yeah.
Shout out to Fabinho. Fabinho's a bad man. I rate that.
Yeah. The chip.
Yeah, I'll be real now. That's right. There's a couple there. Just even if it's 1 or 2 that are savable, them kind of it doesn't sound much at all. But 1 or 2, you have to take your chances for Kepa. Like you have to get there. But that's what it is. It just comes down to the thin margins. It's easy for us to say, oh yeah, but Kepa is so close. Like he nearly saved that, but you have to save it. Like, you don't get rewarded in penalties for coming close. Like you got to do your job. But yeah.
What's it called? They're saying potential quadruple for Liverpool. What are you saying for them? You think the league obviously is realistic, but do you see them winning the league or?
Yeah, I think right now they've got the momentum where because I think it's kind of hard to explain, but I think there's a big thing of momentum and within a squad when you genuinely believe that you can do it and you are going to do it. And I think for Liverpool, they have that momentum now. For a couple of weeks, they were quite a while, but quite far behind City. But now, recent weeks, we saw City against Everton didn't look too great. Got very, very lucky that they didn't get a penalty against them. And before that, they dropped points as well. They lost to Spurs, who were on an awful run. Liverpool definitely have the wind in their sails. And I think that game that they play each other in the league is going to be vital. Whoever picks up 3 points there, it should be the favourites to take the league title. But in terms of the quadruple is always very tough because number one, you need a deep squad because you need to challenge on 3 different fronts, and number 2, the level of competition in all 3 of them tournaments is very high. Obviously, you need with the Champions League, you need quite a bit of luck with your draw, that you get a favourable draw in the foreseeable rounds, so the round 16, quarterfinals, even semi-final. And the Premier League competing with that at the same time is not going to be easy. So I personally don't see them doing it, but as long as you're in for competitions, it's always a possibility.
What about you? You think Liverpool have an opportunity?
Yeah, no, it was a month back. If you asked me, I would have said Man City had it, but now I'm seeing the gap closing. I'm seeing not Man City's form running out, but the game's getting a lot closer with Man City. If you actually watch them play, as if we saw the other day, the game's actually getting quite tighter. And then, whereas Liverpool, their games seem a bit more fluid. Now we're seeing the Liverpool that we're seeing before. We're not at their peak, but we're seeing a very, very good Liverpool team, and they're driven, and you can tell they want it. And they've never once felt, oh, this is the league's gone. Let's put a foot down kind of thing. They've always been going for it, and I think they believe that they can win the league. I guess that's all that matters when I think Dan's right about the game when they both come against each other, because it is, well, if Liverpool win that game in hand, it's a 3-point gap. Of course, now that game is going to be crucial. I don't think either team will lose. Probably either team won't lose the game until then, potentially. So yeah, personally, I think Liverpool could take Man City in that game, if they're playing like this. But yeah, I don't want to make a judgment of who I think will win the league, but I definitely think Liverpool are more than capable, and I probably will favourite them right now. Yeah.
I'll still say City are, just because of the way they play, where they usually have more control over games.
Yeah,
I feel like City will still be the favourites over the remaining of the season, I would say. But yeah, Liverpool surprised me in the fact how they've closed the gap, especially that quickly as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and because City haven't really been in that bad of a form. when you look at
Yeah,
it.
that's that.
They've not looked great though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They've been playing games where even though they've won, they've not looked great. So against Everton, they didn't look great. When they beat Arsenal at the Emirates, they looked awful. Against Spurs, they didn't look great at all. Whereas like Liverpool in recent weeks have looked pretty good.
Yeah, that's the thing. With Man City's system as well, with the kind of possession-based system, when the teams sit back, it can go wrong, and it can become from possession-based to just being completely stagnant, and that's what we saw against like Everton and such. It just comes very stagnant. And that's what like Chelsea's problem is. Like when Chelsea tried to start playing possession under Tuchel, we've never really been able to do it properly because it's not tiki-taka. It's definitely not tiki-taka. It's just stagnant football. And that's what Man City, that's their risk. Whereas Liverpool, they've never been like that. They're full force, and teams can catch them out. Don't get me wrong, but that high risk is like very high reward as well. So yeah.
Nah, I hear that. I think we'll talk about the referees another week because of what happened with Rodri. I can't lie, that looks like corruption. That looks like corruption.
There's a couple City decisions as well that I've seen on social media where in recent weeks, and especially this season, they've got a lot of very iffy decisions go their way.
The thing is,
that one's shocking. Yeah,
the thing is, if the league's gonna come down to say the league comes down to, let's say it's a 1 point, like theoretically, let's say it's a 1 point league gap when Man City win the league, they win the league by 1 point. You look back at the decisions, that decision, stupid decision, they've brushed under the carpet. That decision is costing someone the whole league, 38 games. Come on, like, even though they can easily say, oh yeah, nah, it wasn't deliberate, it wasn't this, that, it wasn't this, that. These decisions have cost a whole league. What's the point of playing the games if the decisions is going to go against and they're going to get 3 points anyway? Like they're getting lucky, they're getting bailed out by referees, and it's so jammy. And obviously, I don't like complaining about referees, but when a whole league is decided on these stupid decisions, it's unfair. It's unfair for the teams challenging. Like, what's the point of playing if it's gonna? I don't want to say it's corruption, but yeah, it's not real.
I say it, man. It's corruption.
Yeah, it's
corruption. Yes,
exactly.
They're match fixing.
Yeah.
What's it called? There's gonna be another fuck up soon. So once that happens, we'll
see what happens after Arteta meets the PGMOL, because we've seen some corruption against us as well.
Yeah. It's unforgivable. Let me just say it's unforgivable. I don't know why they're not getting questioned. Why is nothing happening? There's no, literally, I'm sure any decision can happen in the next game, and 2 weeks, and next thing you know, it gets brushed under the radar. And these referees not questioned at all. You'll see them refereeing the next game the next week, and nothing happens.
I think slightly because it's Man City as well, and like, not to be rude to Man City, but no one really cares about them like that. Like, they're the team that, like, you think, I'd prefer Man City to win it than my rival. Like, so no one really cares if Man City win the Premier League again. So when Man City win a game on a dodgy decision, no one's really mad like that. Whereas, like, if Man United won a game on a dodgy decision, or Spurs or Arsenal or Chelsea or Liverpool, everyone will be up in arms because obviously that's their rivals.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll talk about the refs another time because it'll all come back up. Because we haven't really had one this season. I think we had one last season, but we haven't really spoken about them this season because it seems like it's an annual thing. But yeah, moving on from the final, let's talk about Leeds and Tottenham because that's going to cross over with two topics we're going to talk about. Let's start with Leeds. They have unfortunately sacked Bielsa. It's actually mad, like the connection that Leeds fans and Bielsa have is pretty incredible, especially in modern day. Like, it's very, very tight. But me personally, I think it was harsh. I feel like even though they're in bad form and you could say he isn't helping himself, I would have still given him till the end of the season. Because like, the guy doesn't have Phillips, doesn't have Bamford. So those are two very important players. And I mean, I feel like they would just have enough to survive, in my opinion, under him. And then maybe you move on. Because I think his contract was running out anyway. But, Dan, what's your thoughts on the sacking of Bielsa?
I agree with you that it was a bit harsh, but I understand from the club's perspective because they're in deep trouble with relegation. I think they could actually go down. Because if you look at the teams they're competing with, Newcastle seem to be on a roll recently. Burnley have seemed to hit form as well. Everton, I think, just have a bit too much quality to go down. And that leaves Leeds as, in my opinion, the favourites to go down. And I think they need to do all they can to stay up because if they go down, you know the likes of Phillips, Rafinha, Bamford, they're all going. And I mean, no offense to Leeds, but if you look at the rest of their squad, it's not really that impressive.
Yeah.
With that being said, I think you have to give Bielsa a lot of respect and a lot of credit because the team that he took up from the Championship, a lot of them players weren't playing at the level they are now. And the way that they played, they never compromised on his principles and the way he wanted to play, even though they were losing quite heavily week in, week out. And I think that's something that you have to give him credit for. So it'd be interesting to see where they go from here. I think Jesse Marsch is the favourite. I don't know how he'll adapt to the Premier League and with this Leeds team, whether it'll be enough to save them. But you just have to give respect to Bielsa and credit for what he done to Leeds and especially the community and the fans and whatnot.
No, 100%. Carl, what about you? What you said about Bielsa?
Yeah, I agree with Dan. First of all, I'll give respect to Bielsa because the individual players that he's kind of made in a sense, like exceptional. We've seen what Rafinha and stuff, like these top quality players, and I think they'll have some big moves from some of these players to bigger clubs. So I give him respect on that front. But I'm not gonna lie to you, for the last like year and a half, I don't like Leeds' style of play that he's had. I think it's not sustainable at all in terms of it's for a lower table club or like a newly promoted club, the full force, flying everyone forward, having leaky defense and just trying to outscore the opponent. It's going to get exposed 9 times out of 10. And that's what we've been seeing with Leeds, just conceding too many goals. I think since they've been in the Prem, they just concede too many goals. In the day, they've done well in the Prem. Like last season, they did well. But if you look at the finer details, you can't concede that many goals. And I think he's going to last. I get his whole point when people say, yeah, they're very good. They've had doesn't win you games. Like, come on now, like passion doesn't win you games. So yeah, I don't think it's harsh in the long term that they've sacked Bielsa because of that football is not going to get them to the next stage. Doing that, it's just going to go backwards, and it's very, very high risk. As Dan said, in the relegation battle, it's not what you want. You don't want to be playing that. You want to be scraping wins. You want to be scraping wins in the relegation battle. You want to have solid defensive performances and focus on clean up defense first. You don't want to be playing high risk football and trying to impress everyone by going full swing, trying to have like 3-goal games. Yeah, they got actually battered by Tottenham. Like, not even surprised by that one as well. Like, even though it's Tottenham, I'm not surprised by that one at all. Yeah, credit to Bielsa. I don't know who's coming up next for them though. Yeah, that's why I can't make a judgment of like the comparison as of yet. But they have in respect, and they do have a few solid players to work with compared to some of the lower teams down there, to be fair to them. So yeah.
They're bringing in the American Jesse Marsch. Has there ever been an American managed in the league?
Maybe a while.
Not that I know of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just thinking they're gonna probably take the piss out of him. I know how it is. With Jesse Marsch, man, he's a bit like when I watched Leipzig,
like Ted Lasso.
When I was watching Leipzig this season, and then it was just mad chaotic. It's just crazy. I think Leeds just love pressing, isn't it? They love the intensity. So I guess it does fit. I don't know I just don't know. I feel like, yeah, maybe it'll work. New manager juice to get them through to the end of the season, and then you kind of build on from there.
But will they survive though? Because if you look at the teams that are around them, I think everyone's really accepted that Norwich and Watford are already down. So the teams around them, Burnley, Newcastle, Everton, and Brentford is a bit above them. Of them, can you see any of them finishing below Leeds?
That's the thing. Everton definitely not. Brentford not. Burnley, I think Burnley are a better team than Leeds personally. I think Burnley are good at scraping out wins as well. So that's dangerous. It's dangerous right now for Leeds.
And Newcastle's in good form as well.
And Newcastle, let's be honest, with the Newcastle backing they have right now, they'll do anything they can to make sure they clutch that what they call it, like not getting relegated. Yeah, it's very, very risky.
I think they're in big danger, Leeds.
I feel like Brentford would be the third one to go down. I don't know. Maybe, but Eriksen can make the difference though. But even then, there's a bit risky because obviously he's been out. You don't know how he is mentally and physically. So that's going to be a big question. But he does add a quality that they don't have in midfield. So that could be the difference maker.
They need goals though.
True.
Like, because even Tony, I think Tony has something like 3 goals or 4 goals this season.
But you can say with Eriksen, that added creativity might give them the boost that they need to score more goals, you know. But with what's his name? With Leeds, because Phillips is out for a while and Bamford's not coming back. If they had those two back, you would say, nah, they should be all right. But without those two, you're a bit like, yeah, they might be in trouble. They might be in a battle. But it's going to be interesting.
Every club in that relegation battle has players that if they go down, because let's look at it. Newcastle have Sam Maximan that I know he would get into a lot of teams. Whether he'd want to leave or not is a different story, but he'd get into a lot of teams. Even Burnley have Dwight McNeil, who's meant to be quite good. And Everton obviously have Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, a couple of others that Premier League clubs would look at. And I mean, Leeds have Rafinha, Bamford, and Phillips, who, if they drop down, are all going. It's
facts.
It's an interesting relegation battle because someone's going down who you could argue has players that are too good to go down.
Not gonna lie, I was just looking at Leeds' last game since the end of since December. It's drastic. It is terrible. Out of the last like 12 games, they've conceded 3 or more in like 10 of them or something like that.
I think they're conceding the most in the league. They've conceded like 60 or something like that.
No, how can you in the last 10 out of 12 games concede 3 or more goals? Come on. It's not. They've probably seen that the run of form. It'll get worse and worse. It's gonna get worse and worse as well if they didn't change it, in my opinion.
I hear that, man. Cut your losses quickly now before it gets to relegation, innit? So
yeah,
I hear that. But yeah, it looks like Marsh will be appointed. So good luck to him. His last game was against Spurs, and Son and Kane. You know, let's talk about that combination, because it's only from last season that people really began to recognize it. Because I never actually thought they were like a mad combo like that. I don't know if it was just me. I never thought they were like a mad partnership. It was only from like when last season came about, where obviously Eriksen left and Ali was kind of off form, and you kind of saw, okay, these are the two for Spurs, innit? So what are we saying about them? Because I don't know if I'm going to say they're the best partnership I've seen in the Prem, even though they have the most goals. But you do have to respect what they've done. Maybe that's due to the lack of trophies I'm saying that, but still, I just don't think they're an elite level partnership. I think they're very good, like top level, but I don't think they're like, wow, like this. It is very good. There's definitely a connection, but I don't know, man. What are you saying then about their connection?
Do you know what? I think obviously we have to give them props because Kane is an all-timer in terms of the Premier League, and Son is obviously a very, very high-level player, borderline world-class player. But I agree with you. I never really saw them as like a duo. I think, especially under Pochettino, they were just part of a very good attack that contained players like Eriksen and also Ali at the time, who was very, very good. But I never really saw them isolated as a duo. It was only really, I think under Mourinho, really, I saw them start to play off each other a lot. And I mean, ironically, that's when we saw Kane at his best. He got, I think that was his best, where he got, I think he got highest assists and was very high on the top goal scoring list as well. But comparing them to other all-time duos, I think just because they have more goals together than other duos, that doesn't necessarily mean they're better. I think they just played together for a very, very long time. Like, they've been together, 7 years now? That's, compared to other duos, that's a very, very long time. Like, and especially when for 3, maybe 4 of them years, you two are the main kind of attacking components of that team, it's inevitable to a certain extent that you're going to score a lot of goals combined. So obviously I respect them very highly as players, but when it comes to all-time duos, especially when you consider in not just attacking duos but defensive duos. I don't know if they even crack top 5, to be honest. Maybe not even top 10.
That's a good pod topic. Best duos. That's a good topic there.
Mm.
Carl, what are you saying about their combo?
You're not gonna lie, I agree with what the end of Dan said as well about see the goals. It's kind of, if you actually look at more into it, it's the fact that the reliance on them is so heavy that I'm not just saying it just because they're the only two good players in the team, but it's been a carry job for a while, if we're then deadly honest. So of course, yeah, as Dan said, it's inevitable that they're gonna have the most goals. Like, I won't take the credit away from them, but it's more the fact that the Tottenham players around them are very mid. So they've had to do a lot, go out their way a lot. I rate them very highly, to be honest. I prefer Kane a lot over Son, if I'm being honest. I know a lot of people like Son a very high amount, but I think Kane is a lot more consistent over his career, and he's a much better component for Spurs over his career as well. Whereas Son has had some spells as well where he looked at him and he hasn't been world class. Whereas Kane, whenever I see him play, yeah, he does have his bad games here and there. It does go quiet here and there, but his quality that provides is guaranteed. Has always been world class since he's first had his come up at Tottenham. But yeah, that's a whole other topic of where they list in the Prem. But it's not top 3. It's not top 3. It's not top 5.
No,
That's it.
not at all.
Not at all. I wouldn't even. I don't think it's a debate with its top 5 or not. There's been a lot of good duos.
Name me a
Especially
couple.
when you factor in like people winning stuff, because like if we're being real, like even if you just take Andy Cole and Dwight York, in one season they won more than them two players have won in their whole career as a duo.
Yeah.
So like as a duo, how can you suggest that Son and Kane are better when these guys won the treble together? Like it's a, for me, I think just because they scored their goals, that's the only claim that they have, really.
Are there any other duos that overall, any other duos that you want to mention that deserve special accolades?
Obviously, we have like
Lampard and Drogba.
Arsenal. Yeah, we have some Arsenal's all timers. Obviously, you have Bergkamp. You could, it depends what you want to call it duo. You could say Bergkamp and Henry, or you could say Bergkamp and another Arsenal player. You've had some Man United's duos. It's kind of hard to define duo. It's hard to define a duo if you're being real honest, because even with Tottenham, it's not 2 up front. It's normally it's been a 3 up the top. So like, you're just missing out one player if you kind of think of it really. When it's kind of hard to find a duo, but there's been a lot of the days. With it's Arsenal, Man United carry job, if we're being honest, over the years of the Premier League. But yeah.
But if we're being real, especially if we factor defensive duos, you could make a very good argument that Alderweireld and Vertonghen at their peak were a better duo for Spurs than Son and Kane, because at their peak, I would argue that they were maybe the best 2 centre-back partnership in the league. I don't think Son and Kane have ever really been the best 2 strikers in the league.
You can argue Kane, but Son, I wouldn't ever class as like.
Were Kane and Son at any point better than Mane and Salah?
You could argue Kane, but not Son.
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't rate Son that highly. I think he's good.
Same.
I do think he's good, but I don't rate him that highly. I think Kane, we'll talk about Kane in a minute, but I don't. I'm not massively.
I think Son blows hot and cold. So like, he scored against Leeds, but before that he wasn't looking the best in the weeks previously, and then he'll go quiet for weeks and then burst and score like 3 or 4 or 5 goals, and people will start calling him world class and better than Mane and better than Salah and whatnot. And then he'll go quiet again when Spurs start to play bad. So I don't know, man. I think he's another one that kind of plays to the level of the team. When Spurs are good, he plays well, but when Spurs are crap, he's not playing too well.
No, I think that how you said that makes sense. Like, he's not really a trendsetter in that sense. He's not really the one that sets the tone. Like, you argue Kane is the one that sets the tone for Spurs, but and then Son is kind of one of the guys in the team, and he's the guy. Which that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. And talking about Kane, bro, that assist was stupid. That assist was Kane is a bad man. He's a bad boy. Like, yeah, nah. In terms of Prem strikers, in terms of like just the level, I think he's up there, like top
Yeah, I
5
think
I've seen in the Prem.
yeah.
In terms of like a greatness thing, in terms of like what you've achieved with that, I can't put him in the top 5. But I got a couple players that I wanted to compare Kane with. I just wanted to see what our thoughts are. So let's start with the easiest one. Well, in my opinion, Kane versus Drogba. I'm saying Kane's better than Drogba.
In what sense? Or in what sense?
Yeah, that's.
What talent? You mean talent?
Just a striker, isn't it?
But when you talk about, so are you comparing overall or peaks? And even then, are you talking about over a 38 game season?
Yeah.
Or
Either in peak.
if we're talking about a one-off game, everyone knows who's being picked.
No, I'm not talking about final because that's obviously easy. I think as an overall footballer.
But I do agree with you though. Over a 38 game season, I'm probably picking Kane just because Drogba had a lot of seasons where he didn't score a lot of goals.
But as a footballer, comparing those two, like in terms of what they do as a striker, I'm still probably saying Kane is a better striker than Drogba. But Drogba's always a funny one because Drogba is one of the rarest strikers I've seen in terms of that. This guy could bully 2 defenders by himself. Like, that's one thing that makes it a bit more difficult comparing him to other strikers in terms of that. The guy could do things by himself. Like we've seen certain goals that Drogba scored where he's just a long ball up top and the guy just makes something out of nothing. So that's why it's always a bit more tougher because I know Drogba can make something out of nothing. But
and it's tough comparing eras as well because we're in an era right now where strikers can't simply be poachers anymore. Like it's not good enough. You can't just be a poacher. Like if you look at the best strikers in the league, and there isn't even that many, in my opinion, good strikers in the league. They're all complete players. They're all players that do more than just camp in the penalty box and wait for a chance. They have to get involved in the play. They have to help with the build up, create chances for others. So maybe maybe Kane benefits in terms of the ranking of all time because he's obviously a great in this era, which is more demanding, but it's difficult to compare other players because you could argue that players like Drogba or Henry or even like Rooney would also be able to adapt to this.
Drogba would adapt to any era because of his skill set is just too vast. Like he can do too many things in it. But I would still say Kane is better than Drogba, even though I love Drogba.
Yeah, I'd say on like raw talent. If we're talking about raw talent and what he can actually provide as a striker, Kane he can generally do it all on us from a playmaking point of view and finishing. So I would probably say Kane. It hurts me to say, but probably would say Kane as a more complete striker. But at the end of the day, it's not always the best striker that can work and perform the best in the team, as we've seen. Like we've seen some not average strikers, but over the years, some decent strikers putting on goals, bringing together teams well, and that could be more important. But at the end of the day, what we have to think is that if Kane was in the last 5 years, was chilling in Man City, won the league every year, won the FA Cup every year, we'd be calling him the best striker we've ever seen in our entire lives. That's the end of the day. And if he won the league every single season, but because he's in Tottenham and they haven't won anything, we kind of don't put him on that top.
But he's a part of that though. He's a reason why they haven't won anything.
That's a good point, because that's a good point. Because I guess if he was that great, they would be a bit more. I guess that's a good point, to be honest. That's the thing. I kind of exclude him from the failure, but he's still the failure if you're being harsh.
Like, especially if we look at their semi-finals and finals.
True.
In the semi-final of the Champions League, it was Lucas Moura that bailed them out. In the semi-final of the FA Cup, where they got to him like 2016, 2017, he done nothing against Chelsea's B team.
Yeah.
Like he's as much a part of this failure as Son is, as Ali is, as Ericsson was, as Pochettino was. I think that's still a massive red flag on his all-time status.
That's true.
He's not a hustler. He's not a hustler.
Yeah, he can't get it done.
That's the thing. Drogba's real clutch god. Real clutch god. That's someone you want and you'd pick for the big games. That when it comes down to the legacy, it's all about big games. It sounds naive, but that's what it's about, isn't it? That's what makes history. Like, I don't care. I don't care about if you score bang 30 goals in the season. Well done on that. Like, if you won the UCL, you won the cup here, won the cup there, and you've had legacy, had good moments as well. That's what people remember, in my opinion. I don't care if I look back 10 years ago and someone said, "Oh, this guy scored 26 goals here." It's good, but you shouldn't be like you shouldn't be celebrating individual achievements over team achievements.
Yeah.
That's true. And that's the thing, because you make a good point in terms of like, that's why I try to separate best and greatness, because like greatness is kind of just bite-sized moments of your career, small little moments of your career, just to showcase what you've done overall, innit? So that's why greatness isn't the best way to define how good a player was, but it's good to just see like the little bits, just little bullet points. Okay, you did this, you did that, you did this. So that's one thing with Kane. Kane doesn't really have any bite-sized moments, which is unfortunate for him. But another striker, Kane or Aguero?
Hey, Aguero, man. Aguero all time is above Kane. He's got the standout legacy moment of the Premier League ever. Consistently scored in big games for Man City and won countless titles.
But rating them just purely on their ability as a striker, who you taking? You still taking Aguero?
Yeah, I think so. I think Aguero had it all as a striker, to be honest.
Yeah. Carl?
Yeah, it's a tough one. For me, it's a tough one. If I'm going to be a quick answer, I would say Kane edges it. It might be a stinker, but I would say potentially Kane edges it. But I can't take away from what Aguero's done, I think Aguero had the better. Aguero, of course, he's had the better career. He's been the more efficient, more better striker over his career. But if you're judging on like talent-wise, I think the potential Kane might have had, it was absurd potential and stuff. But so, are you asking more talent? Are you asking talent, straight talent, or the better player?
Just based on like their ability as a player, really.
I have to say Aguero actually, because what he did. If we're talking about what he did, and not about theoretically what he did, Aguero, Aguero. Because I think I can't keep saying that. What Kane, if he was there, he would have won this, he would have won that, but he didn't. Yeah.
It's hard. It's tough, man, because I'll probably go Aguero. I prefer Aguero, but the gap isn't big in my opinion. Next one, RVP. RVP.
I think Van Persie's clear, man. I think Van Persie at his peak is one of the greatest strikers that this country's seen. Like, this guy scored goals upon goals upon goals. And especially in terms of his legacy, he went to Man United and pretty much single-handedly won them the title.
And that's a tough one, man.
Van Persie. I think Van Persie was international as well. International proven. I know that I don't know what he won or anything, if he did won anything, but internationally, I remember he had some solid games. I think he's got like 50 goals for Netherlands or something.
That's a tough one, man. Van Persie was a gun.
Pete Van Persie at Arsenal as well. Ridiculous.
That's a tough one still. I don't know if I can decide that one. Because you know what? They're kind of similar in a sense as well. That one's tough. What about Rooney? Rooney or Kane?
Kane for me, personally.
That one's tough.
Young Rooney had the explosiveness though. That I might side with Rooney. He did have the explosiveness, and he had the passing range that Kane has.
Yeah, I think Rooney could adapt his game to fit others as well. So Ronaldo, Van Persie, Tevez, Berbatov, Rooney was the glue. Like it's a common phrase now, but Rooney was the glue in all them teams. Right. He adapted to all these great players and made them better. For me, that's the sign of not just a great player, but a very great player, that you improve very good players.
Apparently so. Okay. Rooney did his thing. It's tough, man. But overall, though, the whole point of this is Kane is superb. He's a superb player.
I think people try to rub him out as well. Like people say he'll be forgotten, he'll be this, that. Like people still remember Michu. Like they're not gonna forget Kane, man.
Kane he's different, isn't it? He's different. But,
In terms of all time, is he above Vardy?
Yeah,
definitely.
Is he
but
far above Vardy?
See, the thing of Vardy has Leicester. He didn't win it with like a
Man
top
City
or anything like that. He won it with Leicester. That's like
and he broke one of the records, goals in consecutive games.
True.
No, Kane's a bigger legend, in my opinion. But that moment.
But in terms of greatness, Vardy's greater than Kane.
The thing is, based on what we've been saying, we can't go against our words, because what we've been saying about like moments and clutch and all kind of stuff, that's leading towards Vardy, if we're honest. But I get what Dan's saying. To be honest, I would say Kane's obviously the better player, but
he's a better player. But
we're gonna hold Kane to a higher regard than Vardy. We're gonna hold Kane to a higher regard. But hasn't Vardy got 150 Prem goals or whatever?
He has more than 100 Prem goals.
That's a lot.
Is he on 150 yet?
I don't know 150, but Vardy's been about.
Because you can't even say Vardy's like a one season wonder or two.
No,
he's 4 or 5.
He's been banging 20 goals for years now. Let me actually check how many goals he has.
I just feel like the difference in level of quality is quite big. I feel like Kane is a superior player to Vardy. If the difference wasn't as big,
he has 130 goals in 260 games. That's a goal every other game.
Yeah. If Vardy was a slightly better footballer, you could argue that,
but peak Vardy terrified defenses with his pace and ability to win penalties. Peak Vardy had the top defenders in the league worried.
Nah, I hear that, man.
I think looking back as well, that season, it's a long time ago. That 15-16 season, that's a lot of years ago as well. It doesn't feel that long ago, but it's a lot of years ago actually. And still, he's about in the 2019 season, he did good as well. And that's like that's a long gap between them. That's a good few years that he was consistent over that time. So that's a good one actually, to be honest.
Vardy's definitely top 10. I don't think you'll find 10 Premier League strikers better and with a better thing than Vardy.
There's a lot, but what he did with Leicester will always push him up.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. Once you get into like 15 or 10 great players, it's always hard to differentiate them. So it usually just comes down to trophy and your influences on them. But yeah, man.
Because I think Vardy has more goals than Drogba.
Yeah, he does, yeah. He doesn't have a Champions League still. So
He doesn't, but he has a Premier League with Leicester, which is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. Now big up Vardy, but remember there was a guy called N'Golo Kante.
Kante is very high on the all-time list as well.
Yeah. But overall, Kane, he's that guy.
Yeah.
Speaking about another up-and-coming youngster, Bukayo Saka. Let me see if I can find the stats that I sent in the GC a couple of days ago. Like he dominates everything for Arsenal, isn't it? It was like most carries into the box, most passes into the final third. Yeah, so he has the most shots, most crosses, most fouls won, most duels, shots on target, chances created, take-ons completed, touches in the opposition box, most final third passes. Bro, the guy, he's one of the best youngsters in Europe. And I hear very little hype around him. I don't get it, you know.
We know why that is, man. We know why that is. It's pretty obvious. It's because he plays for Arsenal, man. If he played for Man City, he'd be compared to Mbappe. If he played for Man City, he'd be compared to Mbappe and Haaland. But because he plays for Arsenal, and I understand why people don't like giving Arsenal players credit, because Arsenal fans, once given a little bit of credit, start running away with it and getting a bit too excited. But Bukayo Saka's the real deal. He's the truth. And if we're being completely honest, Phil Foden might be a better player than Bukayo Saka, but Bukayo Saka has outperformed him for the last 2 years consistently.
I agree, because I was saying last season Saka should have won the Young Player of the Year in my opinion. But yeah, Saka. In terms of like Premier League talents, especially now that what's his name, Greenwood's out of the picture now, he's pushed himself up there. Like he's one of the most talented in the Premier, in my opinion, one of the most talented in Europe. Like
Definitely.
the guy is certified. His decision making and his understanding of play. He's probably like, I'm not saying he's as talented as Cess, but he's kind of in the Cess mode where he's just a natural talent. I think Dan uses that word where they just gel into the team and understand the tempo of football so quickly at such a young age. Their footballing, their intelligence is dumb. Like they're just footballing it. Like he's an incredible talent in my opinion, and I think he deserves a bit more. He deserves more praise for what he does, because honestly, I know he doesn't get like GA like on a madness, but I don't really care. Like if you watch him, you see like the guy is constantly influencing Arsenal's play. He's constantly creating chances, taking people on. You know, he's a great talent, man. What about you, Carl? How do you feel about Saka?
You know, the thing is, when I started looking into him properly and his impact at Arsenal at that age, it's actually ridiculous. Because the thing is, I know it's like cliche to say, oh, he's only like 20 years old, but the guy was playing, he was carrying Arsenal on his shoulders at a young age. Like, remember, I think it was either last season or his debut season. He was not supposed to be doing what he was doing. Like Arsenal, remember when Arsenal was going through dark times when they had the whole start? I think it was the start of Arteta or something. He was going through these bad times for Arsenal. But this guy was carrying them, and he got a lot of results just from Saka's performances. And you have to give him credit for that. And what's scary is that he's got a long career ahead of him, a long career. 20 years old, I think it's nearly 100 games now, approaching towards 100 games. That's a lot of games. And from the start, what's crazy is that it's not 100 games where he's only been good in the last 30. It's from the start. Since he's I don't say since his debut, but since his very, very start, he's been performing and he's elevated more. Obviously, I'm not gonna lie that there's been a few some spells where I've been thinking, oh, he's been a bit quiet here and there, but it's not really his fault. It's the fact that Arsenal have obviously had some spells here and there where they haven't been to their best. But I think he's got a big career ahead of him. I think it is harsh that he's not put up there with some of the best of that kind of age. You see youngsters like youngsters like Foden. Even people don't even like to compare him to Foden. People like to compare Foden to the guys like Felix, Mbappe, and Haaland. But really, if Foden's there, then you kind of have to put Saka up there as well. If I'm being honest, I'm not even the biggest Saka fan, if I'm being truthfully honest. But I have to show respect where it's due, because like Arsenal, I'm not gonna lie to you, Arsenal, they're not. Dan will admit himself, they're not the best of teams, isn't it? And he's performing.
Yeah,
he's performing to a very, very high standard. And he's made Arsenal progress as well. So I think as well as Smith Rowe, they have a good young group. We've said it before, but they have a good base to continue over the next 5 years. That's why I think they have a lot of potential as a team collectively going forward with the additions as well. And the thing is, if they're producing players like this, what makes you think that there's not going to be someone coming up in the next couple of years as well? There could be another. Like, we have to look at the academy again, because Saka kind of came out of nowhere. If we're being honest, like I didn't know this guy like when he was balling at 16, like some players we've seen. So I respect to Saka, to be honest.
And
you know what? I think it's mad that he's held to, in my opinion, he's held to a very different standard to other youngsters. And I think he's a bit of a victim of his own success and a victim of playing for Arsenal. Because like even earlier this week, I saw uproar from other fans when Arsenal fans said that he's better than Vinicius. I saw uproar. Other fans are saying, "Oh, that's blasphemous. That's blasphemous." I don't even think that's a wild statement. I think it's a decent enough comparison.
Probably true. Like in my opinion, he's overall he's more of a complete player than Vinicius. I think the thing with Vinicius is more direct and
his output is better,
and he's more skillful in my opinion. But in terms of their overall ability as a player, I would say Saka is a better footballer right now. Vinicius, maybe you could say, has a better ceiling or higher one, but in terms of the footballing ability and what they do right now, I'm saying Saka is better in my opinion, 100%.
and even like even just performances. So like, I hate to bring Greenwood into it because obviously he's in a different situation right now, and it doesn't look like he'll be coming back to football anytime soon. But if we look at him in the last 2 seasons, for the majority of them seasons, he was crap. He was putting awful performances, and then at the end of the season, he'd have 7 or 8 good games, and people would be calling out Saka, the guy who every single week is putting in a great performance, and people didn't give him his flowers.
Yeah.
Like, it gets to a point where it's like, it was so standard for Saka that you didn't even need to get hyped or excited about it.
Yeah. 100%.
And what you have to say as well, people have to like gas the Premier League to a very, very high standard. People like to keep Premier League at a high standard. So now that we have a youngster performing in the Premier League, which you say is this such great, amazing league, best league we've ever seen, so why is he not being given credit like some of the abroad players? No, I'm not saying the abroad players are not just as good, but why is he not being given the same kind of credit? And he's performing in the league that everyone says is so incredible. So surely you'd give him a bit extra credit there, compared to like the guys like not nothing away from Mbappe and these kind of guys, because they're like ridiculous, they're absurdly good. But
João Felix is a good example because his
Exactly.
performances have been shocking.
it's
But
Yeah.
he's
I let
regarded
him
so high.
because Simeone is not helping him.
It's not, but his performances have been so poor. And in my opinion, you can't really judge players just based on their talent level, because there's loads of players like even Johan Gurkuf, the guy that I put on my private today. He was incredibly talented, but he didn't turn out to be a top player. So I don't think you can judge players especially on their talent. It's a lot based on performances for me.
Yeah.
100%. But we'll talk about Vinicius. Vinicius is a top talent. Like,
Most certainly.
I've obviously I watched Madrid a lot, and the guy's a live wire. Him and Benzema, their partnership is brilliant. But like, I'm just saying in terms of like what they offer over 90 minutes, because they're both very involved. But I feel like Saka, like I was reading the stats, guy's just bossing it. But obviously this is more for Dan now. I want to get your thoughts on what your team in the summer, what you would want it to look like. And obviously when Ori comes, we'll ask him as well. But what positions in particular are you looking at? So I'd imagine Ramsdale's still on goal.
Yeah.
Ramsdale. T in it.
Yeah.
What are you saying about centre backs?
Do you know what? We have Saliba coming back, and he's been from the accounts, he's matured a lot in France. So we'll see how he is now. But I'll be totally honest, if we go into next season with Gabriel and Ben White, I have no complaints at all. Because this season especially, they've been pretty impressive.
Even though you spell Gabriel. I just put Gab.
Yeah.
I got spelled White and then Tommy T in it. Or you want to buy a new right back?
Do you know what? I would prefer a backup right back, and the one that I ideally would want is Livramento, because I think he has potential to go right to the top. But again, if we don't, Tomiyasu has been quality so far.
What formation? What formation are we saying?
It looks like we're going into like the way we play right now is a 4-2-3-1, but it looks like Arteta wants to move to a 4-3-3. Like, he's tried it a lot of times, so I don't know.
Which formation do you prefer?
I think we look better when it's a 4-2-3-1, but I think with the right players, a 4-3-3 we could look very good.
So what would the midfield say?
So Partey would be at the base. I think recently he's played as a 6 and he's been very impressive. Like the recent pickup of form, he's been incredible. Odegaard in the right half space as a number 8. Again, he's been very good recently. And then we need a new midfielder in that left kind of pocket. And I've not quite decided who would be that perfect midfielder, because I really wanted Bruno who went to Newcastle. I think especially going from the pivot into the 8, he'd be very good. But I'm not quite sure yet who we want to get. I just want someone, to be honest.
So we'll just put a question mark.
Yeah.
What about Smith Rowe?
I don't know how Smith Rowe does in terms of with the centrally. I prefer him off the left. I think off the left he's a totally different animal.
So who would you play on the left, him or Martinelli?
So off the left I'd play him, but if Arsenal make the Champions League in the summer, I'd want us to go out and get a big left winger, someone like Serge Gnabry, who I know is having problems with his contract with Bayern and has hinted in the past that he wants to come back, just because I think that gives Arsenal that star power up front and it gives us that depth.
So I imagine Saka on the right is
Yeah.
verified. And then who's your striker?
So striker's one that's, especially on Arsenal Twitter, is probably the most debated position. Like, obviously, Vlahovic had a lot of people that really wanted him. Isak is one that people have been split over. Calvert-Lewin's another option. But my personal preferred opinion, I would like Osimhen. I know he'd cost a lot of money. I know he's had a injury problems, but I think Osimhen is incredibly talented player. And in the right system with the right players around him, which I think we could provide, I think he could score 25 goals a season.
Yeah, and I can see that. I can see that. Obviously, it's very dependent on what you get in terms of if you get Champions League in it. So
of course, yeah, that's a very big indicator of what Arsenal will do in the summer, whether they get Champions League or not. But it's tight right now. But I'd say we probably are the favourites.
100%. Let's talk about CR7, CR37. They told me he's a GOAT. And I thought Denzel was going to come through in it to defend his boy in it, but I think he ran away scared in it. But, United are having the opposite of what they had under Oli. Like, they're actually creating a lot of chances, and the apparent GOAT, he's not firing. And, bro, like, if I'm being honest, he's even worse than what I expected him to be. So my question to you guys is Cristiano finished? Is he finished? Is he finished at the top level? Carl,
the thing is finished? Finish is a harsh word. That's a harsh word. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's a very harsh word. But
if he doesn't score, what's he doing?
He's dusted. He's dusted, bro. He's very dusted right now. The thing is, the reason why is because at this level, there's no return for him. There's no comeback. Where's he gonna, unless he stat pads at Man City, but he's not gonna do that, is he? He's not gonna go anywhere else that's gonna succeed right now. His only hope in Premier League right now is Man United. He's not transitioning to another Prem side at all. Are Man United gonna do a madness next year, and is he gonna come clutch and win everything for them? No, like probably not. So at this level in the Premier League right now, yes, his time has come to an end. It's not the fact that he's not had a good career and stuff. I can't take that away from him. But come on, like what's gonna happen right now? It's on a decline. It's on a decline, a very, very heavy decline. He could go international and stat pad somewhere like Paris or somewhere, but just boring. It's just boring. Like we've seen it before. I don't think that adds to any credibility. But the thing is, he's old. He's old now. Like it's just part of life, I guess. This is part of life, Josh. Like this is why you have to be a bit less harsh, because for me personally, at that age, come on, like we can't expect too much. Or
gassing him up when
that's the thing. That's the thing.
Him up. The guy I've been saying, the guy's an average footballer. Right now, he's shit. He's a shit footballer. But I was saying before, the guy was an average player. He doesn't offer much over 90 minutes. He's a great goal scorer. Even now, he's looking a bit shot.
But how many players don't offer much over 90 minutes, though?
Yeah.
That's why I don't rate them highly, innit?
I test Puno, bro.
I test, bro. I test. But yeah,
he don't pass the eye test. If you actually be real, he's a bruh.
Nah, for me, he's finished. He's finished.
I don't agree, man. I don't think he's finished. I think he's in a very toxic environment right now. He's playing with a lot of players that, as harsh as it sounds, are just not playing very well. Rashford has been playing very, very poorly for about a year and a half now. Bruno has been playing, his overall game has been playing very, very poorly from as long as I've seen him play football. Pogba hasn't been playing great since maybe the first game of the season. Sancho's not been playing very great. The only attacking player at Man United that recently has been playing decent is Elanga. Like the rest of them have been shocking. And I mean, Ronaldo, he's a very limited footballer right now. Very limited. So in terms of his on-the-ball ability, it's not there. But his off-the-ball ability, his movement, his awareness, his positioning is still top tier, in my opinion. And I think if you, it's going to sound mad, but if you build the team to a way where they can nullify them weaknesses, then he can still be utilized at the top level. In the same way that, for example, Liverpool in previous seasons built the team where they nullified Trent's defensive deficiencies. If you build a team where Ronaldo doesn't have to link up the play and be very heavily involved on the ball, and he can just essentially poach, then he can still play at a high level. But whether that's something that Man United can do, I don't think they can, especially with Bruno. I don't think him and Bruno can exist at all. They're two peas of the same pod. They are way too similar in the fact that they're shocking on the ball and are just looking for that one moment a game to get the stats and get the glory rather than the overall team performance.
Because no, what I see with that one is that even his off the ball thing is decreased a lot, man. It's not even like a. Obviously, I used to get onto Salah before, but Salah off the ball will still push defenses back. Ronaldo's movement is really just limited in the box. Like he's not really dragging defenses like that. Like he's just so limited, bro. Like,
but he's still putting himself in positions to score. Like I don't know if you saw the last game against Watford, Bruno had a 1-on-1 and Ronaldo was right there that he could have squared it, and that's a tap in. That's 1-0. But
isn't it in the box? Isn't it? It's in the box. Huh? It's like it was in the box, wasn't it?
Yeah. But that's still effective, though, no?
No, I'm not. That's what I'm not trying to take that away from him. It's just that he's not even offering it. Even in so, let's say United are building out in playing around and stuff like that. He's not making a burst in behind like that. He does maybe occasionally, but he doesn't do it often and regularly. I always use Salah as an example because Salah's like obviously like the best goal scorer winner. Or even looking at Mbappe, like they're always direct, always looking to get in behind. He doesn't do that as much. Like he's just so limited in what he can offer you. To me, I don't think you can win anything with him. Top level. And we saw that Juve struggled. Obviously, Juve built very poorly around him. It's not his fault, but still.
But Man United have also built very poorly around him.
Yeah. The thing is that to understand, right? Like if we're gonna critique Ronaldo, we have to look at the players around him. That's the thing. That is a good point, Sanas, because
none of them have looked good. It's just that Ronaldo is the biggest name, so he's the easiest to criticize. Like Rashford has been woeful for a long time now, and Man United fans have been getting onto him, but the mainstream media and rival fans haven't really been saying anything. He's been far worse than Ronaldo, and Ronaldo's a player who's 37. Rashford's what, 24, 25? He should be approaching the peak of his playing ability, his prime, and he's Rashford. He's like Theo Walcott, where he looked better at 19 than he does at 24, 25, and that's not a good thing.
I think we're probably going to talk about Rashford another time, but I don't know. I'm still giving him time because he came back from the injury in it with the shoulder in it, so I'll still give him time. And obviously a new coach. I feel like for some of the United players, it's going to be a bit hard right now because you're kind of in between with Ralph, because Ralph isn't going to be long term. So I don't know if there's enough there for you to really push on, you know, because the only players that you really see like step out and step in out of their shadows has really been Delo, really. But other than that, no one's really like made leaps and bounds this season.
I think Matic has looked very good recently.
Yeah, but he's not going to last a lot over a season.
No, he's not at all.
A couple good games in it, so yeah. But for me, I think Ronaldo, if he drops a hat trick against Atletico, who cares, man? I still think he's finished. I don't care.
And the thing is, his last hope, which I said from the start, is Ronaldo, because obviously he's the clutch god. Let's not get twisted. He's still the clutch god. Like he'll always be the clutch god. If he has some moments that can revive it a bit, I'll be honest. Like say if he does in the UCL, does something crazy, exactly. There's potential in that way, but I just can't see him because of the Man United team. I can't see him exceeding like his current form, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough, man. Obviously, when Denzel comes back, I have to, because I know this guy's gonna defend his boy, but I'm sorry, Denzel, your goat is looking funny right now, man. He's looking funny. He's looking 37. He's looking 37, man. But yeah, United probably gonna talk about United as well later on.
Wait, before we move on, Ronaldo's what? He's 37. He's meant to be rubbed out. He's got something like 8 or 9 goals this season. Harry Kane, who is, we talk about superb, all-timer, Hall of Fame, has got what? 7 goals, 8 goals this season?
It's a good point.
I'm taking Kane over Ronaldo.
No, same, but I think in terms of goal scoring, Kane has not had a good season and it's not really been spoken about. And Ronaldo's not been half as bad as I think people have been making that.
He's crap.
Wait,
Yeah.
I have one thing about this. The thing is, you know, when we talk about the GOAT status, like how just I think the reason why you don't, because I still rate Ronaldo, but just the reason why you don't rate Ronaldo is it because people are calling him the GOAT and then he's not performing like a GOAT? Is that what would you say the main thing?
Yeah, that's
See,
why.
no. See, let me be honest. Like, I'm not really gonna criticize Ronaldo too heavy now because he's 37 and it's not fair. But so you want to know the origin story of why I don't rate Ronaldo that highly?
The villain
Yeah.
origin story.
Yeah, so no, it was from 2014 when I saw him in the World Cup. I was like, this guy's an imposter, bruv. Like, this ain't the Ronaldo I know. Because Ronaldo back in the day was the guy in it. Like, everybody was doing the the free kick stance, everything. Like, Ronaldo was the guy in it. And then obviously you see him in 2014. Apparently he was injured or something like that, but it was crap. But where it really like took off was 2016 Euros. I was like, this guy he's not a very good footballer anymore. Like, he can do a little dribble here and there, come deep, you know.
But do you not think he just kind of adapted his game though, because he's getting old? Like Ronaldo in 2009 and Ronaldo in 2016 are two very different players and equally successful because both won the Champions League. And I mean, Ronaldo in the three-peat arguably wasn't his best career when he was playing at his best. And Ronaldo in 2009 was completely different.
So, but you see with that one, I agree. He's adapted, and you give him his credit. But don't start saying he's the best player in the world because when he was at 2016, I'm sorry. Even in 2009, when I saw Messi, I was like, okay, Messi's better than Ronaldo. I don't care. In 2016, I'm sorry, there's not even a comparison, really. Obviously,
but I think we're arguing different things because I don't think any of us here have ever considered, and I don't think anyone who really understands and watches football has ever considered Ronaldo to go, unless you're a Man United, Real Madrid, or Portugal fan.
It's
Yeah.
true. That's what I mean. Yeah, and there's a lot of them.
So when my guy's winning Ballon d'Ors and he's still being seen as like one of the best players in the world, okay, he's one of the best players. But when he's being seen as like close to Messi, I don't know why. It didn't feel right because I was watching him and I was just seeing, bro, like from what I saw from Ronaldo when he was younger, this guy that I'm seeing in like 2016, 2017, he's not even close. Like, okay, he scores goals, but like his overall game, like he's not helping. Like his dribbling is decreasing. He isn't being creative.
But to be fair, at the end of the day, they won 3 Champions Leagues in a row, so it doesn't really matter because they were still massively successful. Messi never won 3 Champions Leagues in a row.
Yeah. Fair enough, innit? Like, yeah, if we want to use team success in it, but I don't know. Just looking at it from like an eye test perspective, like.
But team success is the ultimate important thing in this game because like it's not all about you. Because if it was, then a certain Bruno Fernandes would be considered one of the best players.
Nah, it's true, but I don't know. For me, I remember one time we were having a conversation about like the best talents in football, and I was like, Ronaldo isn't like amongst them, and it's just like, yeah, maybe I don't know. I just don't rate him. I just don't rate him that much. Big him up, man, because he's a hustler, man. I respect hustlers. Like Ronaldo's a hustler. I respect that in it, but he's not my guy in it. I'll never rep him. He's a World Cup flop as well. So you know the ones that
Guys piling it on.
He's a fucking World Cup flop. How can you be a GOAT, yeah, and you can't even score in the World Cup knockout when your country needs you? Come on, man. Get out, bro.
That's a real agenda. That's a real agenda.
Will start coming doing bum licking. I don't care about Messi either, but yeah, Ronaldo's not my guy.
Yeah, that's the thing I was gonna say. But that's a whole other topic because you see how Messi's not been to his level. I was gonna say, like, what's your reason for not going at Messi when you're going at Ronaldo?
Messi's a better footballer than Ronaldo still.
Yeah, of course.
But his performances recently have been very, very poor.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like,
bro, Messi's poor performances in 2022 is better than Ronaldo's best performances in 2022. Sorry, like Ronaldo.
I don't know quite if I agree with that.
Ronaldo having a good performance is him having one dribble and maybe like 10 good passes. Like, no, Ronaldo, I'm sorry, nah, I'm not having it with him. Nah. I'm sorry. Yeah, we've been going at it for a minute now. Any final points before we round off? Nope.
Watch out for the next episode. Josh, tell them about what your idea.
Which one?
The takes.
Well, the honesty.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was the honesty.
Okay.
That was the honesty. It was just like the
Okay.
Kane, the Saka, and the Ronaldo thing. Obviously, I thought the whole Mandem would be here, but obviously things happened, and that's gonna get everybody on there. But yeah, no. International breaks, there'll be some interesting ideas coming through. Definitely, don't worry about that. So you man, watch out for that. While you're doing that, make sure you hit the bell notification so you're up to date whenever we post. It's looking like we post every Tuesdays at 5 p.m. So you know the time there. But yeah, people, you might know the usuals. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your people. We out. Peace. Stay blessed.